Hello everyone, and welcome back to Void Dwarf Studios, where today we are going to continue with I'm New What Do I Do series. And I figured, after cost, now that we know more or less that for GW at least you're spending about 300 to 400 quid on a starting army if you have nothing else in your background to help you with that, I figured the next relatively obvious question is this. How do I choose? It's a fair question. There are a ridiculous number of armies now, with plenty of choice and plenty of complex tactical decisions at your disposal. So, I suppose the best way to start breaking this down is more or less what happens when you go into an independent store. Most of the time, Games Workshop at least will push you towards Space Marines, as a starting army they're pretty flexible. You can usually use them in all kinds of different ways, and, well, you've got tons of different chapter colours to choose from, with a ton of background and story, so there's probably something that will suit you, but I'm also not going to forget the fantastic Xenos races, like the Eldar, Tau, Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons, all that kind of stuff, which are great, and you've also got things like the Chaos Demons, you've got Chaos Space Marines, of course, and when it comes to things like Age of Sigmar, there is a wealth of choice. It's actually mind-boggling at times how much choice there is. And is it any wonder why most miniature collectors tend to end up picking a bit of everything? I think if I think about it long enough, I've probably got 12 to... We're into double digits at least in the different kinds of armies that I actually have. But this one's actually relatively straightforward. But it depends upon your viewpoint. If you're playing the hobby and you just, you want to have a good time, you want to chill, and the way you do this is by just having a fun, fluffy army, then honestly, pick the model that looks cool. And 9 times out of 10, you'll build an army around the model that looks cool. For example, under construction, obviously, but I've not glued the head on, so if this falls off, this will be mildly amusing. Will you balance? There we go. So, okay, so before the old world died, I wanted to collect Wood Elves. That was one of the many armies I wanted to try and grab, but that all end time stuff kind of happened, so I didn't get around to it. However, I have kind of fallen in love with the whole Sylvaneth stuff. His head's not on right, but you get the idea. So I wanted the Tree Dude. Probably hard to see that camera quality and all that jazz. But so I'm building an army pretty much around the trees, dryads, the Wood Elf spirits, all that kind of cool stuff. And there's usually a single model in a range that you'll see that will capture your imagination in some way. And it'll be something that you will want to paint towards, or at the very least build and play. The other end of that spectrum, of course, is if you are more interested in what kills the most effectively. If the way you relax and get the most fun is by basically pounding all kinds of dirt out of the opponent you're fighting at that point in time, then, well, there are tons of internet websites that will tell you all kinds of strategies and various builds for what they think will make the most devastating army, based on math and all that kind of boring stuff that I personally find really tedious. But there are definitely ways that you could build an army where its primary function is to kill in the most effective way and overpowered way possible. And those armies are out there, most definitely. But I would personally recommend that if you did collect a new army, you collect the one that you think looks cool. If you pick a model that you think looks cool, you'll spend the time to paint it, and then once you've painted it, you'll want to collect more of the same, and your army will grow and you'll end up having something that you can be proud of. Even if it's not the most effective army in the world, you'll be much more satisfied in the fact that, well, 1, it looks awesome, and 2, it won't matter if you win or lose, because depending on who you're playing against, you should be having a fantastic time anyway, just because, with the nature of the hobby, 9 times out of 10, the person you're playing with wants to have a good time too, and is more concerned about having a fun game as opposed to, well, basically shoving everything in your face. At least 9 times out of 10, that's my experience. If I was to offer my personal opinion, I would say collect one of these starter boxes. Like, buy a single starter box. Don't worry about collecting an entire army. You can always grow that as you go. But if you bought a starter box, say like the ones that are coming out, the Combat Patrol size boxes, there's more than enough in there, including usually a single standout model that will capture your imagination, and you'll have yourself a very small skirmishy army right there ready to go, and you can play it with your friends. Of course, there is always the route of just buying the starter box set of a particular army and going from there, if those are the kinds of models you like. And of course it will come with tape measures, dice and rules and all that kind of good stuff that you need to actually get going. So yeah, this one's kind of a no-brainer to me in many respects. Pick the army that you think looks the coolest, and 9 times out of 10 you'll have the most fun playing it. So don't worry too much, just look around the store, find the army you like the look of, and this can apply to any game. It doesn't matter whether it's 40k, Age of Sigmar, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Marvel, DC. Pick what looks cool to you, what sounds cool, and even if it turns out not to be the army for you, you could be happy in knowing that you've painted and created something really awesome. Anyway, that's going to be my I'm New, What Do I Do episode for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Put one of those little like, subscribe-y type things down below. They really help the channel and I sincerely appreciate it. And until next time, take care everyone.